Yamuna-tira-vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhare Yashodananda Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodananda Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna-tira vanachare Yamuna-tira vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaridhare Yashodananda Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodananda Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna-tira vanachare Yamuna-tira vanachare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madha, Jaya Radha Madha, Radha Madha, Jaya Radha Madha. Jaya Narasingha Pralada, Jaya Narasingha Dev, Narasingha Dev, Jaya Pralad Mara. Jaya Gauranita, Jai Gauranita, Gauranita, Jai Gauranita. Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva, Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Anitai Gaur Hariva, 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 Gaur Hariva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotarasata Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanara Vrinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Brahmacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Di Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhama Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai. Sri Mathura Dhama Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai. Sri Navadvip Dhama Ki Jai. Nilachala Jagannatapuri Dhama Ki Jai. Grand Ras Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Samavera Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai, Shri Gaura Premanandi. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Narayana Namaskritya, Narachaiva Narottamam, Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamodiraya Nashtapraya Swabhadresu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So everyone is welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. And for our today's discussion, we're taking from Canto 3, Chapter 11, entitled Calculation of Time from the Atom. And today, the verse is verse 32. is on the board. Antaḥ tasmin salila. Āste nantāsano hariḥ. Yoga-nidrā-nimīlākṣaḥ. Stūyamāno janālayaiḥ. Antaḥ tasmin salila. Āste nantāsano hariḥ. Yoga-nidrā-nimīlākṣaḥ. Stūyamāno janālayaiḥ. Antaḥ tasmin salila. Āste nantāsano hariḥ. Yoga-nidrā-nimīlākṣaḥ. Stūyamāno janālayaiḥ. Antaḥ tasmin salila. Āste nantāsano hariḥ. Yoga-nidrā-nimīlākṣaḥ. Stūyamāno janālayaiḥ. Antaḥ tasmin salila. Āste nantāsano hariḥ. Yoga-nidrā-nimīlākṣaḥ. Stūyamāno janālayaiḥ. Antaḥ tasmin salila. Āste nantāsano hariḥ. Yoga-nidrā-nimīlākṣaḥ. Stūyamāno janālayaiḥ. Antaḥ tasmin salila. Āste nantāsano hariḥ. Yoga-nidrā-nimīlākṣaḥ. Stūyamāno janālayaiḥ. Vaishnavis. Antaḥ tasmin salila. Āste nantāsano hariḥ. Yoga-nidrā-nimīlākṣaḥ. Stūyamāno janālayaiḥ. Word for word translation. Antaḥ, within. Saha, that. Tasmin, in that. Salile, water. Āste, there is. Ananta, Ananta. Āsanaḥ, on the seat of. Hariḥ, the Lord. Yoga, mystic. Nidra, sleep. Nimīla-akṣaḥ, eyes closed. Stūya-mānaḥ, being glorified. Jana-ālayaiḥ, by the inhabitants of Janaloka planets. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, lies down in the water on the seat of Ananta, with his eyes closed, and the inhabitants of Janaloka planets offer their glorious prayers unto the Lord with folded hands. Please repeat responsibly. The Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, lies down in the water on the seat of Ananta, with his eyes closed, and the inhabitants of Janaloka offer their glorious prayers unto the Lord with folded hands. Srila Prabhupada's purport. We should not understand the sleeping condition of the Lord to be the same as our sleep. Here, the word yoga-nidrā is specifically mentioned, which indicates that the Lord's sleeping condition is also a manifestation of his internal potency. Whenever the word yoga is used, it should be understood to refer to that which is transcendental. In the transcendental stage, all activities are always present, and they are glorified by prayers of great sages like Bhṛgu. Amagyanatimaridasya gyanan ganashalakaya chakshuram militam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dodoti Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahoguna Ragunastam Vitam Tam Sujivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahoguna Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Asri Tatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Titri Iti Namini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvese Sasyunyavadi Pasachade Satarini Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namini gauratvize namaha. Nityanando vatutendur vasuda pranavalabhar Janavir jivita patir Krishna prema pradaprabhu Padmavati Sutta Srimam Sachirananda Purvajaha Bhavum Mata Jagat Rakta Rakta Gora Kile Varaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankaja Navaya Nama Pankaja Maline Nama Pankaja Nitraya Namaste Pankaja Graye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaritaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Madhirgatima Sarvasva Padambujo Radha Madana Mohano Divyat Vrindaranya Kalpadrumanda Srimad Radhadgara Simhastanastau Srila Govinda Devo Prishyali Virsevya Manosmarami Shrimam Rasarasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venuswanai Gopi Gopinata Sriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Brishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Devi Krishnamai Proktaradi Kapara Devata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarvam Kanti Samohini Paraha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation again. The Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, lies down in the water on the seat of Ananta with his eyes closed, and the inhabitants of Janaloka planets offer their glorious prayers unto the Lord with folded hands. Bukam karoti vachalam pankum lagayate grim yatkri patama hadvande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandalakram Vyaptayina Characharam Tarpadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, first of all, I want to register my appreciation to all the exalted Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis present in this class. I feel unqualified to sit before all of you, speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, but Srila Prabhupada has made it possible for the impossible to happen. Srila Prabhupada has made it possible for the impossible to happen. Otherwise, what credit do I have to sit here? Only by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, his unlimited mercy that he has given to the whole world, and that has brought all of us together in Sri Mayapur. So we owe Srila Prabhupada lots and lots of gratitude that he has made it possible for us to participate in this mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So before we say something in relationship to this verse, we first of all ask the blessings of all of you, following the footsteps of great devotees like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Durgame Patime Indasya, Skala Padha Gatir Mohor, Swa Kripa Sanaina, Santa Santa Avalambalam. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is praying that he is blind. Of course, we know he's not blind. But out of his great humility, he's praying, showing us how to pray. That he's blind, his feet are slipping, and the only mercy is the stick of mercy of the Vaishnavas. So anything we want to undertake, we always need the mercy of the Vaishnavas. And I'm very, very happy, very grateful to His Grace Rameshwara Prabhu. Rameshwara Prabhu is my spiritual uncle. Hare Krishna. I've learned from you, like Lord Chaitanya asking Ramananda Raya to speak. So, I've learned from you, and now we are also trying to do something. So just before the class, Prabhu gave me the garland. And I was thinking, the father is giving the son a garland. The father is blessing the son with the ability to speak. So your garland you gave me is the empowerment for me to give this class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. And I want to recognize all the wonderful souls in this class. And I always want to appreciate Janmastami Prabhu for facilitating my spiritual education. I will never forget. Thank you. So today's verse is talking about the Supreme Lord who lies down in the water on the seat of Ananta with his eyes closed. And the inhabitants of Janaloka offer their glorious prayers unto the Lord with folded hands. So in the previous verses, we've heard from such wonderful speakers like Rameshwara Prabhu, like the other devotee who spoke yesterday. Very wonderful presentation of the annihilation that goes on in the universe after the creation. So today, the 100 years of intense heat coming from Sankarshan has destroyed all the lower planetary systems and the middle planetary systems. According to the Vedic cosmology, we have 14 planetary systems: Brahmanda, Bitare, Hoi, Choda Bhavanaha. Choda Bhavane, Vahisi, Yata Jiva Gana. That the universe is divided into 14 planetary systems. We have the upper planetary systems comprising of Bhṛgu-loka, Bhurva-loka, Swarga-loka, Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapa-loka, and Satya-loka. These are the 7 upper planetary systems. Below that, there are 7 planets, also lower planetary systems, beginning with Atal. Tal, Atal, Vital, Mahatal, Sutala, Rasatala, Mahatala, and Talatala. These are the 7 planetary systems that are below the Earth planet. So the universe is so structured to accommodate the different living entities. Yata Jiva Gana. The living entities are situated in all these planetary systems according to their quality of work. So, in verse 31, or maybe 30, it is mentioned that the residents of Mahaloka, headed by Bhṛgu Muni, they could not tolerate the heat coming from Sankarshan, the mouth of Sankarshan. And so they had to relocate. They have to move upwards to Janaloka. So the question is, Why is there the need for the destruction? First, why there is the need for the material creation, and then there is a need for the destruction. In the prayers of the inhabitants of Jambudvip, they offered prayers to the Lord. Karoti Vishwa Stiti Samya Modhyam Yeshiptam Nishiptam Ikshu Gunai. That, my dear Lord, you do not have any desire for creating, maintaining, and annihilating the cosmos, the material world. But you perform these activities for the benefit of the conditioned souls. The Lord is relishing his eternal potency in the spiritual realm constantly. What is the need of creating the material world, maintaining it, and destroying it? What is the need? There is no need. But the Lord does this because of the Nitya Baddhas, the conditioned living entities that have taken shelter outside of Goloka Vrindavan. So therefore, the Lord has to facilitate their coming back to Goloka Vrindavan. So the whole purpose of the material creation is the rectification of the desire, the independent desire and activities of the living entities. So therefore, the inhabitants of Jambudvip, they're praying to the Lord that you really have no business with this material creation, but for the benefit of the conditioned souls, you have created this material world. You take the trouble to maintain it, and at the end, you destroy it. So that is the purpose of this material creation. And these verses, these chapters, are meant to give us the understanding that in as much as we remain in this material world, we have to go through these three stages: creation, maintenance, and destruction. That is the nature of the material world. Nobody can escape it. Creation, maintenance, and destruction. Whether we like them or we don't like them, once we are within the realm of material creation, we have to go through them. But the residents of Janaloka, they have something to teach us. When the heat is so much, destroying all the planetary systems in the lower and middle planetary systems, their planets are not affected. And that is why the residents of Mahaloka are relocating to Tapaloka. And of course we have, to Janaloka. And from Janaloka there is Tapaloka. And from Tapaloka we have Satyaloka, that's Brahman's own planet. So what is the example that these residents are teaching us? Narada Muni once approached Narayan Rishi to ask some questions about the Supreme Personality of Godhead regarding the creation, maintenance, and destruction. And Narayan Rishi referred to an ancient history that was discussed between Sanandan Kumar and the residents of Janaloka. It says, although these sages were all equally qualified in terms of Vedic study and austerity, and although they saw no friends no enemies, no neutral parties. They chose one of them to speak, and the rest of them listened. O Master of the Three Worlds, these wise people, in order to get rid of all miseries, they dove deep into the nectarian ocean of topics about the Supreme Personality of Godhead that washes away all the contaminations of the universe. Furthermore, it is said that when these great sages and thinkers who are residents of Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka heard the tumultuous voice of Varahadev. Lord Varaha is the first incarnation, and he appeared from the nostrils of Brahma in a very small size. And Brahma was wondering, what is this? And as they were wondering, he instantly expanded into a gigantic figure and roared. And immediately, Brahma and the sages, they could understand that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that roaring went throughout the whole universe. That the sages in Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka, they heard the vibration from Lord Varahadev. And immediately, they began to chant mantras to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is also mentioned that once Lord Brahma was in this planet and he had a big celebration going on in Janaloka. So Brahma was wondering what is going on in Brahmaloka, in Janaloka. So he came down to Janaloka to see what was happening, and he saw that the residents of Janaloka, they were celebrating Krishna Lila. When Krishna annihilated Aghasur in Vrindavan, the whole universe witnessed it. And the residents of Janaloka, they were so excited, they were so happy witnessing such an activity, and so they began to drum, sing, chant, and dance. And that went all the way up to Brahmaloka. The Brahma was enjoying the celebration and decided to come down to Janaloka to see what is happening. So we can see that the residents of Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, they are not ordinary jivas. They are actually almost perfected jivas. And how did they reach this point? How did they achieve this wonderful position? Because they are always eager to hear and chant the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, these inhabitants of these higher planets, they are free from the four illusions. Swa tatwe para tatwa, sadhya sadhana tatvayor, virodi vishaye chaiva, atva brahmas chatuvidaha. There are four illusions that affect the living entities in this material world. One is our identity. We have misplaced our identity. We have accepted external dress as our identity. And because of that, the identity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is covered. Then there is illusion about the process of bhakti and the process of prema because of the first illusion. because we have accepted the body as a self, all other illusions follow. And then, because of that, we have also accepted unfavorable circumstances that prevents us from serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is said, these four illusions, swa tatwe brahma, illusion coming from misidentification, paratatwa brahma, illusion about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sadhya sadhana brahma, illusion about the process of sadhana and prema bhakti, and virodhi vishaya brahma, illusion regarding unfavorable conditions that we have accepted and that prevents us from rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, the inhabitants of Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka, they showed the way how we can overcome these four illusions and accept the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, Srila Prabhupada mentions in one purport of the Srimad Bhagavatam that there are two divisions of expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One division is the Swamsas. The Swamsas are the personal expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the other division is the Vibhinamshas. The Vibhinamshas are the separate expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Swamsas are the Vishnu Tattvas. And the Vibhinamshas are the separated living entities. The Swamsas, their position is they are the predominators. And the position of the Vibhinamshas is they are the predominated. So long as the living entity accepts that position of being predominated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is in his right consciousness, and he remains an inheritor of the spiritual kingdom. But as soon as the living entity thinks that he is also a predominator, he is not predominated. Predominator means the enjoyer. So long as the living entity thinks I am an enjoyer, then you're disqualified to stay in the spiritual world. You immediately have to take shelter of the material energy. So the residents of Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and Janaloka, they are demonstrating by this verse. It says that the inhabitants of Janaloka planets offer their glorious prayers unto the Lord with folded hands. So this is very significant for us. In order to attain the position of freedom from these four illusions and then come to the platform of spiritual success, we must follow in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Janaloka, always being eager to hear and chant the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada has kindly made all these elaborate arrangements. He has given us a standard that every morning, every day, we attend the Mangalarati program. We chant our rounds. We have darshan of the deities, and we hear Srimad Bhagavatam. If we just maintain this standard, if we just maintain this wonderful program that Srila Prabhupada has given us, surely we would achieve the same platform of the residents of Janaloka, Tapalok, Satyalok, and the result is we become eligible to enter into the spiritual realm once again. In order to attain the spiritual kingdom, there are certain requirements. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says, Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Prema Tattva, Sara. Bhava Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Lila Tattva, Ara. That in order to become Krishna conscious, one must understand what is Krishna Tattva, one must understand what is Bhakti Tattva, one must understand what is Prema Tattva, one must understand what is Bhava Tattva, one must understand what is Rasa Tattva, and one must understand what is Lila Tattva. Srila Prabhupada has presented all these tattvas in his Bhakti Vedanta purports. And by daily hearing these wonderful presentations, our Krishna consciousness is increasing. So that is the program His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada has given us. And so, if we follow this program, there is 100% assurance that we go back home, back to Godhead, and escape this cycle of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. In fact, the creation and maintenance may not be so troublesome, but the annihilation is very troublesome, as we can see that even the residents of Mahalok, they are uncomfortable because they cannot tolerate the heat that is coming from Sankarshan. So therefore it says, Krishna Bhakti Siddhanta Gana. If one takes to the process of Krishna consciousness, one can become educated, one can become elevated, one can become Krishna conscious, and one can become eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom. Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has likened devotional service to a forest. So devotional service to Krishna is exactly like a pleasing, jubilant forest of lotus flowers, wherein there is ample honey. I request everyone to taste this honey. If all the mental speculators bring the bees of their minds into this forest of lotus flowers and jubilantly enjoy ecstatic love from Krishna day and night, their mental speculation will be completely satisfied. In other words, Mahaprabhu is telling us that the process of bhakti is a very jubilant process. And if we take shelter of it, we will become ecstatic. In fact, it is said, Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Bhava Hi Aswadaya. That Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appeared into this world for one reason, to distribute the love of Krishna and initiate every living entity into the process of chanting the names of Krishna. And by such chanting, the living entity is given a chance to taste the nectar of Krishna Bhavamritam, the nectar of Krishna consciousness. This is what Srila Prabhupada has given us. And if we take it seriously, there is no doubt that we can be relieved of these miseries coming from the destruction of the material world, the destruction of the material body, the destruction of material circumstances. This body is already doomed to be destroyed. It is already aging, indicating that it is approaching the point of destruction. Similarly, the whole material creation is subject to destruction. So long as we remain in this material world, we have to be destroyed. And it is a very unpalatable situation as indicated by the residents of Mahaloka. So we don't have to wait until this time of destruction comes. For Mahaprabhu has appeared to give us this wonderful process of Krishna consciousness. It is also mentioned that we should not understand the sleeping condition of the Lord to be same as our sleep. Yoga-nidrā-nimīlākṣaḥ tasmin, Mahavishnu reposes in a state of divine sleep in the waters of the causal ocean. So, while the living entities are destroyed, their bodies are destroyed, the lower and middle planetary systems are destroyed, Mahavishnu sleeps on the seat of Ananta with his eyes closed, indicating that he is sleeping. But that sleep is not the ordinary sleep, and that is why it's described as yoga-nidrā. Yoga-nidrā means the Lord is engaged in his transcendental activities with his internal potency. The internal potency of the Lord is always with the Lord. And therefore, there is no question of the Lord being away from his internal potency. And even when the Lord is so-called sleeping with his eyes closed, he is actually interacting with his internal potency. And that is not an ordinary sleep. When we go to sleep, we dream. This dreaming is considered in the mode of passion. But when the Lord sleeps, he is enjoying his transcendental activities with his internal potency. And therefore is completely different from our mundane sleep. When we sleep, nothing happens. But when the Lord sleeps, so many things happen. That is the difference. It is said, Yoga-nidrā is not different from Rama Devi. Rama Devi is the consort of Mahavishnu. And Rama Devi is actually an expansion of Srimati Radharani. Rama Devi is not different from Yoga Maya. And Yoga Maya is not different from Srimati Radharani. And the Lord takes great pleasure in associating with his internal potency. Therefore, when the Lord closes his eyes, it is not that he's asleep. He is actually interacting with his internal potency. Govinda Nandini Radha Govinda Mohini. Govinda Sarvasya Sarvakanti Shiromani. Radharani is the giver of pleasure to Govinda. She is the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be-all and end-all of the crest jewel of Govinda. And Govinda is always in her association. Govinda is always interacting with Srimati Radharani, or Lakshmi Devi, or Ramai Devi, or Yoga-nidrā. They are all expansions of the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it is said that the transcendental goddess, Srimati Radharani, she is a counterpart of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. She is a central figure of all goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So when the Lord closes his eyes, as if he's asleep, but actually he is engaged in his transcendental activities with his internal potency. Just like when Krishna was in Dwaraka, Krishna dreams of Vrindavan. And Krishna cries in his dreams. Rohini, the chief wife of Krishna, Dwarkanath, was always wondering, why is my husband crying all night? Why is my husband crying in the dream? And that indicates how Krishna, even in a so-called sleep, is interacting with the residents of Vrindavan, is interacting with his yoga maya, interacting with his pleasure potency, Radharani and the gopis in Vrindavan. So there is no question of the Lord sleeping. Krishna does not sleep. How can the Supreme Personality of Godhead sleep? He is always engaged in his pastimes, eternal pastimes, of relishing the service of his dearmost devotees. And so, the so-called sleep, Prabhupada writes, is different from our sleep. Our sleep is mundane, conditioned by the three modes of material nature, but the sleep of Krishna is divine, where Krishna is engaged in the transcendental interaction with his dearmost gopis. And on this note, we end here. If there are any comments, you're most welcome. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Srivasa Prabhu. Wonderful class. The question I have is that Anandamayo Bhyasat, this is a characteristic of Krishna, always seeking pleasure, and we share that. That's from Vedanta Sutra. We're seeking pleasure. But when we approach the holy name with the mood of trying to experience a higher taste, isn't that a selfish motivation?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your question. When we chant the holy name in the mood of relishing the holy name.
No, to experience the bliss.
The bliss.
Can't we just approach it? I'm your servant, Krishna. Please engage me in your service. Please empower me to do my service. Please purify me. But when we're looking for the bliss, is that a motivation that doesn't fit?
Well,
we all love it, but
our mood. It says before we start our japa, we should make a sankalpa. Before we start a japa, chanting japa in the morning, we should make a sankalpa. And what is a sankalpa? I am going to chant the holy names of Krishna for the pleasure of Krishna. That should be the sankalpa. Before we start our japa, make the sankalpa. I am going to chant the names of Krishna for the pleasure of Krishna before we start. Because the whole purpose of chanting is to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to give pleasure to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are not chanting for our own pleasure. But simultaneously, because you are giving pleasure to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, automatically, you also get the pleasure.
There's one lecture that Prabhupada gave in, I think it was 72 in Ahmedabad, where he's talking about how the leader has many servants, and the responsibility of the servants is to please the leader. So similarly, as devotees, our responsibility is to please Krishna.
That's right.
And when Krishna is pleased, then we're pleased. That's the transcendental reciprocation. We know when we're pleasing Krishna, if that comes our way. But it shouldn't be our motivation, right?
Thank you.
Our motivation should be to please Krishna.
And actually that applies to all different types of services.
Right.
All services render, the sankalpa should be, I want to please Krishna. That should be the motivation. I'm doing this for the pleasure of Krishna. If we do this for the pleasure of Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate with us. He will give us back that pleasure. But if we perform service for our own pleasure, we do things for our own pleasure, then we are keeping Krishna out of the equation and we don't get anything. So everything we do in Krishna consciousness, the sankalpa, the motivation should be, I am doing this for Krishna.
One other quick question. You mentioned the fourth illusion in the realm of Krishna Prem. I didn't understand how that.
I mentioned that the four illusions, they are in the material world, and the inhabitants of Janaloka, they have overcome these four illusions. And that's why they're offering prayers to Krishna here. So we want to follow their example, we want to follow their footsteps to overcome these four illusions. And the process that Prabhupada has given us is to constantly hear and chant. By constantly hearing and chanting, we can overcome these four illusions.
But what my question is, what is the fourth illusion?
The fourth.
Yeah.
The fourth is
That's in regards to Krishna Prem is what I
favorable circumstances. We accept unfavorable circumstances, and that prevents us from developing love for Krishna.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's already 9 o'clock. I don't want to. There's a hand somewhere. I don't want to neglect anybody.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji.
I would like to know these exalted personalities like Brahma, Shiva, etc. They are highly powerful and advanced personalities, but still they get illusion and they steal the calves and cowherd boys, and Shiva also gets bewildered. So how are these great personalities who are so exalted, if they get bewildered, then what about us? That's the second part of the question.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. This will be the last question in the class. Actually, Brahma and Shiva, they are very exalted personalities. They are actually considered the qualitative incarnations. They are the guna avatars. They are guna avatars. They represent the Lord as far as the modes of material nature are concerned. So therefore, why should they get bewildered? We have to understand that Krishna himself wants it that way. Krishna wants to show his superiority to the devotees, to the living entities, that even great personalities like Brahma and Shiva can be bewildered. But actually, those bewilderments are Krishna's own plan. So, even though they are exalted, but because Krishna wants it that way. In fact, it is said that even Brahma's stealing the cowherd boys and cows is already programmed. The Agasura, the demons coming to Vrindavan to disturb Krishna, they are all programmed. They are actually there to enhance, to spice up Krishna's beautiful pastimes. So it's the Lord's desire that these devotees engage in those activities to actually highlight the supremacy of Krishna. So we can just follow the example, trying to become instruments in Krishna's pleasure, and that is wonderful. Thank you very much. Grand Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.